Hi, this is Chris Hoy. Thank you for joining me on Create with Chris. Today I will be showing you how to paint this adorable snowman ornament with simple touches to create amazing results. It's quick and easy using simple tips, tricks, and techniques. Whether you are a beginner or painting for fun, grab your brushes and let's get started. I recently designed and painted this set of ornaments. I love the snowy results and wanted to share the complete set with you. The lesson today is for the snowman and Christmas tree, but I listed the link below if you want step-by-step instructions for all three. Because this is an MDF ornament, I do go ahead and give it a quick seal with a multi-purpose sealer just to ensure that the paint will adhere well. Also provides a smoother surface, which makes it a little more gentle for your brushes. I want to create an ombre effect, so I've loaded my oval wash with sapphire and I'm just applying it in horizontal strokes. I'm going to clean my brush and then blend it in about 2/3 of the way down. Next I'm going in with Prussian blue and I'm just deepening a little bit, starting at the top, same horizontal strokes. A little bit heavier at the top, clean the brush, and then blend it towards the horizon. You should have a really nice ombre from dark to light. Wanted to create some distant snow splatters in the background. I splattered it with Snow White using my splatter brush, misted it with water. It's going to diffuse the snowflakes, and then just dabbing, and you can see how quiet and soft and diffused they are. I am base coating the snowman with Whispering Turquoise, and I'm using my filbert to base coat that in. I'm not really particular about making it super solid. I just want to make sure that my strokes are nice and even. It's going to have a lot of layers on it. Loading the toe of my 1/2" Awesome Angle with a little bit of sapphire, create shading, very loose. And this is going to have many layers, so don't worry about being too dark, too light, or whatever. Just basing that roughly in at this point. Doing the same thing with the snowman's hat. It's a knit hat, so I just kind of use my number 5 radical round to simply stroke in the structure of the hat. Just makes it easier with the different layers. Now I'm going in, starting to add the brightness, and I'm using the toe of my 1/2" Awesome Angle loaded with Snow White. This is going to take many layers. A little bit of paint makes a big difference. When it's added in layers, it just really adds a lot of depth and it creates that softness. I do jump around a little bit because I wait for one area to dry and I work on another. It creates more continuity. And going in with my number 5 radical round to base coat in each layer of the tree. Now I'm going back with the same number 5 radical round, top coating the hat in the same strokes, the same direction with Watermelon Slice. Adding more Snow White to brighten up those areas. Started with my filbert. It just doesn't work as well as the angle, so I have much more control. However, for the face, it's too big to use a 1/2". Definitely need to bump down to a 1/4 inch just to have a little more control. I'm not going to talk too much about the scarf. I originally decided to paint it yellow, and I thought that would be just the perfect color, but I changed my mind later on. So this is just shows how I base coated it with a filbert for the around the neck and then flat for the tails. Using my Awesome Angle, the 1/2" to tuck a little bit of plantation pine underneath each layer. Just use the toe to poke it in there and then kind of drag it down, adding a little bit of texture. Going back with a little bit of Whispering Turquoise just to blue up the snowman. I like to go back several times and add layers. It just, that little bit of paint makes such a big difference. Now I'm going back again with Snow White. I want him to really be bright and fluffy. Adding some shading with deep burgundy. And again, I'm using the toe of my 1/4 inch angle just to tuck it in along the bottom. Loaded the toe with a little bit of melon, and see how I can highlight each one of those little ribbed sections. A little bit of highlighting on the top of the hat. Simple, simple strokes. Enhancing it with a little bit of Snow White. And I go back and add highlights and shading, like almost not at the same time, but brighten it up evenly. It just adds more continuity. Using number 2 Radical Round, painting the nose, Warm Sunset, brightening up the tips of the tree with the same stroke, loading the toe of my 1/2 inch angle, just kind of tucking and pulling it, just creates really simple strokes. I wanted to have the snowman hold a star, and I'm using my handy helper just to be able to pop that star in there. This is a whole line of little painting templates that I created. Makes painting life so much easier. Deepening the shading in between each layer with a little bit of Prussian blue. This is the color that's going to create that continuity, that shading thread throughout the whole design. But look what a difference that makes in that tree. Just absolutely beautiful. Adding some more deeper Prussian blue. Just be super careful. Prussian blue is a very, very strong color. Doesn't take much to really make a big impact. So I always hone back on it. Adding some Prussian blue shading everywhere, even on the hat. And you can see how it just resonates and richens it up and really makes it look like it has a lot of depth. I switched to the 1/8 inch angle to shade along the bottom of the nose. Eyes, I used my stylus and soft black to dip dot the eyes. I decided to do little coals for the mouth. A little bit of red spice on the bottom of the star. Then I go back with the banana cream to brighten that up. Add a little dip dot of Snow White in each one of the eyes and mouth and buttons. And a little more shading with deep burgundy on the nose. Adding some little layer of snow. And this is where I decided that I really needed to go back and turn that scarf into a red scarf. Didn't like yellow at all. And I base coated it with melon and top coat it with watermelon slice. It just helps that watermelon slice really be a beautiful kind of a Christmassy red. It helps it to glow. And the fringes, I didn't want the yellow ones on there, so I'm using my Mono Zero eraser. If you dip it in water, you can use it to remove dried paint. I took most of it off. I left a little bit on there because I was going to cover a lot of it up with the white fringe. And I'm using my Epic script liner and Snow White just to quickly put on those little stripes and the fringe. Make sure when you use a script liner you have enough moisture in the brush to allow for long flowing lines. If the brush is dragging, there's just not enough moisture in there. I went back to enhance the detail on the hat, and it looks really bright right now, but once I get all of the highlights in there, it's going to balance out. And that's just what I'm looking for, is to keep the highlights the same intensity as well as the shading. Shading the bottom edge of the scarf and between the overlaps with deep burgundy, and adding a little more shading on the hat. Make sure it doesn't turn purple or dark blue. Highlighting the scarf with some Snow White, and I'm balancing out the highlights on the hat at the same time. They should be equal. They have the same light source. Using the toe of my 1/2 inch angle to pull across some shadowing in the snow. Super easy. It almost looks like waves or water. Keep them relatively horizontal so it doesn't look hilly. Using the white pencil to kind of trace the arms in. This is what I do when I design I don't have a pattern, so I have to kind of create as I go. Using my painter's pal to create perfect round ornaments. It's just an awesome tool. I think there's 12 different ones in the line. They're absolutely invaluable. Using my spectacular stencil brush to stencil them with melon. Once they dry, I can go back and top coat them with watermelon slice. It just creates a beautiful red ornament that is perfect for Christmas. And because I'm using this stencil, they're perfectly round. It's just such a great way to do it. Once I get this in place, I'm going to go back now and add the arms in. I wanted to add the arms after I painted the star and the ornament because I wanted him to hold them. And I could put his little fingers or sticks around the star and the ornament so it actually looked like it was in his hand. Using sable brown to paint the arms, and then adding a little bit of shading with thinned soft black. I'm using my Epic script liner. Thin the soft black down. It's very thin. It looks a little strong on the video, but when it dries, it really tones down. Using my Epic script liner to add comma strokes. I struggled a little bit, so I went back to my stylus, a dip dot and a little pole, and you get perfect comma strokes. It's great. And loading the toe of my angle with Snow White, and you can see how I pull that around the tree and the ornaments, and with that Prussian blue base back there, wow, it just creates perfect drifts. Adding a little bit of snow on the tree so that it looks like it's been in the weather as well. Mostly on the tips. I figured those stick out just a little bit more, so I wanted those to be a little bit whiter and brighter. I started using my number 2 Radical Round, but then I downsized to the Epic script liner because I thought it just needed a little more controlled detail, and so I bumped it down to a smaller brush. And I really want that snow to be white. If a second or third layer is needed, I always go back and just keep adding until I reach the correct intensity, until it looks just like I want it to look. Snow on everything to create contrast. It's a dark background. Really want it to pop and stand out. Be careful on the nose you don't make it disappear with the white face. Adding some brightness on the star with Snow White. And again, you can see how all that white and brightness I added on the hat, now it is balanced out. A little bit of snow here and there, and shading on the ornaments. I did the deep burgundy. Now I'm going back with Prussian blue. That pulls it in and ties it to all the other, everything else has been shaded with Prussian blue, and it's just, it's almost magical the way that it transforms these flat colors and just reverberates with that rich depth. Adding another layer of snow, and look how bright and white it is. Splatter the background heavily with snow. Being careful, I try to stay out of the face, but if I do get some in, I just take a clean, damp Q-tip and just kind of wipe it carefully out of any areas where I don't want it as heavy. Please check the links below for everything used in this video. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. I would love to hear from you. If you like what you see, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. That helps me out, and you won't miss out on upcoming videos. I hope you learned a few new tips, tricks, and techniques to make your painting life a little easier and a lot more fun. Remember, a little bit of paint makes a big difference. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to our next painting adventure together.